Memorial Island Veterans Council Committee meeting, advisory committee meeting for the 2nd of March. Time is flying by, without a doubt. So I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, John, would you help me with that, please?
Face the flag. Salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Paulison, it will be away today. I know he's taken some liberty. And then also, I said Paulison. Joel is taking some liberty. And Curtis is away with conflicting business. So that's there. Okay, if we could look next at the minutes from the 3rd of February. It was sent out for our perusal. So are there any recommendations for amendment to the minutes from last month?
I make a motion they be approved.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Audience participation. Again, I would recommend everyone who's watching, please spread the word. We'd love to have other folks here for your questions and input in regards to Memorial Island. It's always appreciated, and it makes us better. So please come. All right, moving quickly on to new business. We have a request for a candlelight vigil. That will be done on January, February, March, April 14th, and it will be conducted between the hours of 4:45 p.m. and 8:15 p.m., and they're estimating 100 folks to that. Is there discussion regarding the?
No. They've done it for years, and it's an appropriate.
Complete the application.
Actually, we still need to have the signature for the Veteran Services Office as well as the other, so
Okay.
we can do that. I'll leave that with Rita, and hopefully we can get that.
I'll make a motion that we approve it after we get
Okay.
signed copy.
All right. All in favor? Okay, very good. And there's no opposition. Moving on next to the water fountain refurbishment. Mr. Dexter, please.
Good morning, Don Dexter, Public Works.
Good morning.
Morning. And the water fountain out there structurally is still in good shape. It's functional, but the surface of it is deteriorated over time and it's faded away. So the good thing is it's a aluminum cast casing, so it's nice and durable, but we're going to sand it down and put a new coat of paint on it, and then also clean the bowl up. It's stainless steel bowl, so but it's got a couple surface rust spots on it, so it's a little steel wool. We'll take care of that and clean it up. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll be able to get the guys out there to take care of that.
Is that pretty standard, I guess, throughout the parks, that type of water fountain, or is that unique?
No, that one's unique to Veterans Island, yeah. Typically in the parks, the only water fountains are at the restroom facilities. And since there's nothing close by, we thought, a fountain out there would be appropriate.
Yeah. Now, is that chilled? I don't know.
It is not.
It's not, okay. All right.
It's wet.
It's wet.
But it's fine. It works great. Okay. All right.
And that's kind of routine maintenance, or it's just...
It's pretty routine maintenance, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then we were going to also ask you in regards to the concrete upkeep and bench maintenance. Just that sounds like normal.
Yeah, the concrete upkeep. Connery Concrete is the contractor who constructed all of that stamped sidewalk out there with the coloring in it over the years. And we have to contract with him to do the repairs. We've tried patching it with our own crews, and it's just too hard to get the materials to get the color to line up and stuff like that. So I'll be in contact with him and see if he can go out and do that. Typically, though, we wait until we're ready to reseal the whole walkway, and I think the seal coat is still in pretty good shape. It generally lasts 3 to 5 years. It's been not quite 3 years since we had it seal coated when we did the last project out there, and so it's getting close. But we'll see if he can do some patching on those spots where the concrete surface has popped up, and it's just a few scattered around here and there.
And again, what business is this?
Connery Concrete.
Connery?
Connery, Connery.
Would that be a root, tree roots?
No, this is just because the product is called Bowmanite, and they take concrete and then they put a coloring on top of it. They put a big rubber mat on it and tamp it in, which gives you the texture. And sometimes on the edge of that texture treatment, the concrete just pops up a little bit. So some of that could be from just aging, the concrete natural aging process. Some of it could be from some traffic out there if a car tire hits it just right or something. But the only people out there driving are our maintenance folks, and then for the couple events that take place, the golf carts and things. So it's just kind of an ongoing maintenance issue that, like I said, every 3 to 5 years we reseal that, and that's something that we budget at that time when it's necessary. But still have a nice gloss on the surface, so I think the base seal coat is still in good shape. So,
is there any periodic inspection, like for the bridge going across? Because the bridge, I think, is in excellent shape, but I didn't know if there's a...
There is.
How does that work?
Actually, every 2 years, the DOT inspects all of the bridges in town.
Yeah.
And so that's on a regular cycle of inspection.
Okay. All right. And then as far as the benches over by the last we forget, that's just...
That's maintenance. We're going to take a look at them. It may be time to replace them. There were some weeds growing up in those, and I pulled a couple weeks ago when I was out there, and so we're going to take a look at those. If the base is starting to rot, then we'll replace the benches.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like a cement foundation that's got I don't know, metal.
Well, those are the pressure treated wood benches,
right.
And then they're anchored down with stainless steel plates.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Questions, y'all?
No, as always, they keep it looking great. It's
wonderful.
wonderful.
It's phenomenal. So I just and that's echoed by everybody that I've talked to that visit out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
another item that you had on here was the mangrove trimming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nanette and I, in the next week or so, are going to get out there, and we have to go through a process and get permits through DEP to trim the mangroves. Mm-hmm. And so we've have a kind of a base map drawn up, and we have to look at each segment, whether it can be trimmed in like a hedge, or can it be windowed where you can peek through the branches, and then you also have to reserve a portion of the mangroves and not do any trimming on them. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, we have what would be the east side of the island that faces the boat ramp area. Mm-hmm. We have some memorials along there, but we don't have any benches facing out. And the mangrove hedge there does two things. One, it helps deflect sound or absorb sound coming from the boat ramp area, and there's really no reason to have windows in there. So that's going to be our reserve area. Mm-hmm. And then also behind the Lest We Forget monument, as you just come on the bridge on that north side, mm-hmm. That portion there will remain as a reserve area. Mm-hmm. The rest of it we're going to look at trying to do either some hedging or windowing as appropriate to keep the view open as much as possible. Mm-hmm.
Would it just take over if you didn't trim them? I mean,
they would eventually. They would take over everything.
It's kind of a balancing act between not being able to just hack away at them, but at the same time can't let them
Yes,
take over
and they are a protected species, so there's a permitting process. You have to hire a certified mangrove trimmer to do the work. Right. Once he does the work, our crews can go in and do some minor trimming to maintain things, but any substantial trimming has to be done by a licensed mangrove trimmer or a certified mangrove trimmer.
Okay. Okay. Anything? Y'all?
No.
Sounds good. Thanks for.
Okay. You're welcome.
The place is awesome.
Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Don.
Okay. Moving to old business. the recap of the military march event.
This one.
Rita passed out
It's this one here.
some articles. I think that it was sent to
Yeah.
you as well.
Emailed them.
And John brought in some 32963.
I think it's this.
This is articles. And then what I'm going to do, oops, excuse me, is I have several pictures as well that I wanted to show y'all. And I got to turn this on and operate a piece of equipment. Okay, but in front of you is a picture from the military march.
Mm-hmm.
Is it up on the screen? There
It
you
is,
go.
yes.
Okay, and these are just, it's half a dozen or so, but you can see them coming over from the airfield, and then they scaled the heights of the bridge. I guess this is on the west side, before on the Barber Bridge, and this is just military love, which we call doing push-ups, so that we're physically fit. And you can see the fella in the green short-sleeve shirt is a member of the sheriff's office, Joe Abalo.
Oh, yeah? Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're counting, and sometimes Marines got to do it once or twice to go through the numbers. Okay, and I believe this is maybe McCash Park. I'm not sure, but it's a wooded street coming from the airfield, so I'm not sure.
It does look like that.
That looks like McGann.
Okay. And there was a very good turnout, and you can see this is another.
Yeah, that's John Harris, father of Heath Harris. That's helped us on the island with,
Right.
and both are black belts in our karate school.
And then this is coming across, going to the east along the Barber Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is the traffic was taken aback at seeing this congregation.
Swarm. Was it a formation or a herd?
Yeah. All right. And then I think this is remedial training for those that didn't keep up with the pace of the march. It looks over like by the Riverside Park, maybe by the bathroom in the area. All right. I think Mr. Slesak probably had to do this when he was training in baseball. Okay. And this is coming onto the island. You can see that they've removed most of their equipment there. And this was the training that was done with Captain Demsick, where he explained the nature of military service and the importance of the island to the group, and the opportunity to share the island with another group of residents, and not your military so much, but also the doctors and civilian practices professionals is pretty amazing, and young kids. And then this is moving back to the airfield, some additional training, and then finally some tire hauls to keep everybody motivated. And my understanding was that there were some people that were a little bit slowed on the way to the east, but after being instructed on the island and some military service, they were ready to go an extra mile. And that's it. So pretty.
Pictures.
Those are wonderful.
Yeah.
See that young Marine there with his Semper Fi shirt showing?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's got those dull colors. Yeah, of course. So I think your guidance was taken to heed, ma'am, and
It appears to.
they paid proper respect for the island, and also what derived from that event was Orchid Island CrossFit did ask individuals if they would interested in contributing to the veterans of Indian River County, and a check was written by Orchid Island for $2,300 and given to the Veterans Council. So I would like to say thank you for the folks that came up with the idea, and thank you for the supervision that was done there, and for the city, thank you for your input as well. I mean, so it was a success.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
Brought some young veterans together, too, that might not have been together for that.
Right.
Good selection of pictures.
Right. And thank you to the press. Vero Beach News Weekly, 33963. Very good. Good coverage there. Another mention that I need to make was the Silver Star ceremony, and Sylvester McIntosh was awarded the Silver Star on the island, and that was, when was it? What was the date?
January.
It's the end of January. That's right.
January.
So, and I'll just hold this up so that you can see it from the TV. But again, we had the opportunity to fulfill the desires of Alex McWilliam that it be used to recognize military service, and it joined together all of the communities.
Mm-hmm. Veterans from all branches, actually generations. Sylvester's son came as a current staff sergeant in the Army, and it was wonderful to hear his commanding officer that was actually he was a Navy Cross winner as well as other decorations, and his platoon sergeant, all of them got decorated for heroism and valor as well as wounded in combat. But and I think this seemed to bring together part of the community that hasn't been together before or as much. Right. And in some ways, of course, we have wonderful Memorial Day and Veterans Day, but in some ways this was maybe one of the best ceremonies we had because of that comradeship. And did you see these? And it was just,
It was
I think,
also in one other, I don't know whether it's luminaries or your news or TV, but I did see some of these pictures, some similar pictures, and I was very impressed.
And Sylvester McIntosh, of course, recognized for his heroism and wounded on the occasion, but has done so much in the community since then. And I was kind of joking, teasing him. Do we call you Sergeant, Doctor, Corporal, Reverend? But it has done so many things.
Yeah. Well, it was an opportunity to bring what you would say, I don't want to say justice, but when a man is acknowledged for what he did after so many years, it's important. And
needed recognition.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So it corrected a previous shortcoming by the military, for sure.
And his decorations, of course, as you know it, but included not only the Silver Star, but the Purple Heart, and he has his unit got the Presidential Unit Citation, the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, and of course the Vietnam Service Medal, Vietnam campaign ribbons, and all the other things. So he's probably one of our highest decorated veterans in our community,
without a doubt. Yep. The other part of that is Sylvester is very selfless, and in his recognition, we had other veterans identified for what they did in their time, and one of them was another black vet from Gifford, and actually he's a Wabasso resident, and then Jerry Cummings, and he was aboard a ship that was attacked by Japanese kamikaze aircraft. So it has a secondary and right, exactly. So Sylvester, thank you for what you've done, and the city, thank you for helping that make it possible. Okay. Under other new business, I received a contact from a lady in town who was an event planner, and she reached out to the city and asked if it was possible to have a veteran return in December at his request and be married on the island. And I asked Tammy just to print the email. I called her ahead of time because I wanted her to understand kind of the circumstance, because we know what the requirements are as far as guidelines, and her concern was that she was petitioned to go the extra mile, and I asked her for a little bit of background, and she said that this was a soldier that had served, wanting to come back to Vero Beach, maybe from Vero Beach area, but I explained that I was familiar with military honors, and as a young officer had served, and one of those was to be an escort officer at Arlington Cemetery. And I shared with her that Memorial Island is the equivalent for our county of Arlington. And as a soldier or a service member, you would not want to have a wedding ceremony in Arlington. And even though it was a beautiful setting in the river, the intent was for those types of services to be held at Riverside or maybe another location. And she said that her son had served in the military, and she understood that. So we don't want to squelch people getting married. That's a good thing. It's just that the intent for the island was to restrict it from that, and that's kind of where we're at.
Yes, sir. Of course, they can visit the island.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Enjoy it, but
okay.
I guess we'd have to change the ordinance in order to have them there.
And so I believe that that's understood, and it's important for the community to be aware that we are wanting to make sure that we have the right things on the island, which is what we do. Having said that, yesterday another request was sent to the city. This is a little bit different in nature. I don't have the actual request. Rob might get it. Have you received that already, Rob, or not?
Rob Slezak, Recreation Director. This was one for a retirement. So
correct.
I wanted to just hand it off to you guys and let you guys,
okay,
because this is a person who's been in the service for decades,
okay,
and apparently they wanted to have a retirement,
right,
some
and
type of a retirement ceremony.
So what I did there was, again, picked up the phone and made direct contact with the individual. And I'll just go through my conversation that I had with him yesterday so that you can look at it and kind of add that to your consideration. His name is Chief Petty Officer Buck McTee, and he did come to the city and ask permission for a military retirement ceremony to be performed on the sanctuary in accordance with the service tradition. He's retiring after 24 years of service. The ceremony would be attended by his unit, friends, and family. And the request said they anticipated not more than 100. And I said, what are you expecting? And he says, 50, maybe. So, he high-sided, but I said, would it be open to the public? And he said, yes, it would be, because it would be another opportunity for the public to see insights into the traditions and ceremonies of the military. I asked him regarding who would perform the ceremony, and he said it would be by his commander, which is appropriate. And he's now, Chief McTee is working in Sunrise, Florida. He's got responsibility for marketing for the Marines from the area of Fort Pierce south. That's his responsibility. And I said, well, how did you come about Memorial Island? And he said, well, he visited here. There was a Navy training exercise, and he had the opportunity to visit Memorial Island, and he was absolutely astounded. He said, he came back and did a report back to his commander, and they asked him if he, like, was he a part of the establishment? I mean, he could recite verse and line from the Florida memorial plaque that's there, as well as the memorials around the island. So, and I asked him if he was from the area. He said he was born in Wyoming, but he's become a Floridian at heart and will retire here. He's assigned to the recruiting station in Miami. And I said, well, what's the nature of the ceremony? He said that it's the standard configuration, which would be his commander that would host it. You would have a speaker. He would be given his final awards. And then there are Navy readings that are appropriate to that. I guess one is entitled Sending Ashore, and then he's given his official retirement, and then he would have his comments. And he said to me that this is not intended to be a retirement reception get-together. That would be held elsewhere, but this would be just the ceremony. And he said he's amenable to changing it, but when I told him that the 25th and the 26th was the Navy Air Show, Blue Angels, the 24th was probably the best occasion for that. So, what are your thoughts?
I think we should approve it. It's similar to some of the things we've talked about to encourage veterans organizations to have reunions here and their ceremonies on the island. It's close to the ordinance doesn't permit weddings, although the other couple could go on the island. But I think this is something that would be important to see, that the community could see, and also things like our POWMIA monument are sort of regional monuments, not just for this community, and so that would include some of those from further south in the state. And so I think it's appropriate to have on the island.
Barb?
I concur.
Okay.
I would think that as long as it is strictly the service protocol, and then when it ends, they would go, as you suggested, and they agreed, some other place to have a formal reception.
Right.
Because I'm sure they would love to have a reception after an impressive service like this. But as long as those requirements are all understand, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for, again, for the public to be a part of, or to at least witness that something special.
I hope it's televised.
That's what the island's for.
Amen.
Do we know if there might be some local TV?
I
And
didn't
press?
ask that. We can follow up with that. But Rob, you've got the request, so I'll sign that, and then we can follow up and find out what type of publicity they might be looking at.
I was going to say that right now, I think it was really generic, what I got. As I recall, it was just basically a date and a couple dates or something. I'll look into it. I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
And as for publicity, I don't think there's anything more than it was pretty vague.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that you spoke with them.
Well, the island clearly impressed the chief petty officer, because this is the 1st of March, and he's contacting us for the end of June, so he's getting out ahead of it, which is smart.
What day in June was that? Best?
The
24th?
Right. And
Would you like me to contact Lisa Reimer with the Press Journal and give her a heads up?
I would contact the chief first to make sure that he's amenable to that, and let them from a military side of the house finalize that end,
Okay,
and
then I'll
then
just-
once we know that for sure, then we can extend that.
I tended to
John, make a motion.
Did you make a motion till we approve it?
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we approve it.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
I think that, if I can add, that I attended a retirement ceremony for a master sergeant in Miami at the Southern Command there. And I think this is an opportunity for the community to see and hear the kind of service that people like Chief McTee has done, and also to see, I'm sure, what high regard his commanding officer will hold him and his shipmates and so forth. So this is good for the community as well as certainly for the chief.
You learn a lot as people depart service, what they've done over the years. And once you've served an organization for 24 years, that's an accomplishment for sure. Okay. As I look at the old business, I jumped ahead of myself when we talked about the military march. Is there any other comments in regards to that? Okay. So let's look at the veterans highlighted last month. And John, if you could read about Private Hamilton.
Yes, sir. Private Lonnie E. Hamilton, his Army, died in service October 5th, 1918. Private Lonnie E. Hamilton was a young married fellow from Quay, which is now Winter Beach, Florida. He joined the Army in Fort Pierce on September 4th, 1918. He was the husband of Emma Hamilton. Lonnie was born in Shady Grove, Florida on January 8th, 1897. Lonnie's parents were Edward W. and Ruth Hamilton. Private Hamilton was 21 years old when he enlisted. Lonnie was sent to Camp Jackson, South Carolina. At the time, the nation was plagued with an influenza pandemic. Lonnie was assigned to Battery A, 2nd Regiment of Field Artillery. On September 29th, he was admitted to the base hospital. On October 5th, he died of pneumonia contributed by influenza. The farmer, now artillery soldier or gunner, was a casualty of disease, having served only a month. Military camps were hard hit with contagious disease. In 1918, 5,000 soldiers were treated, and at least 300 perished at Camp Jackson. Hamilton was buried in Winter Beach Cemetery. His memorial is nearby that of Felix Popple and Aaron Kemp. They are two other Sanctuary World War I veterans. He was honored on the St. Lucie County World War I Memorial. His cenotaph is located column F, row 1. He was highlighted on the WTTB local news magazine February 2nd, 2016. The inscription on his headstone reads, "Father, let thy grace be given that we may meet in heaven."
Good. Thank you. Okay. Surfman Levi Lavender Law, U.S. Coast Guard, died in service August 18th, 1918. Surfman Levi Lavender Law was an enterprising man working in the fishing business of Vero. On September 8th, 1917, he enlisted into the Coast Guard at the age of 23 years and 11 months. He moved his wife and son from Oslo to live on the barrier island. And that's Oslo, Vero Beach, not Oslo across the water. Okay. He was assigned to the Coast Guard Station 205 near Bethel Creek. Since only single men lived in the barracks, he and other married men lived in tents. On August 17, 1918, he was accidentally shot by Burren Parsley, another member of the crew, as he was cleaning his revolver. This occurred on Friday, August 15th around noon, and he died Saturday night despite the efforts of the doctors. Levi's wife, Mamie, later married Charles Nelson of Sebastian. He too was accidentally killed. She lived to 105 and passed in 1995, having witnessed the formative years of Indian River County. Levi is buried in the Oslo Cemetery. His grave is marked with an upright obelisk. It reads, "How desolate our home, bereft of thee." His photo with the Coast Guard in Vero Beach now shows 10 men assigned along with Commander Captain Walter Kitchen. Law's cenotaph is found in column B, row 2. He is included in the Fort Pierce Memorial and was highlighted on the February 9th on the WTTB radio program. What's what's glorious about this is that after years about talking about these families on the island, the wife of Pat Luther is a relative of the Laws, and she provided me a photograph of the Coast Guard detachment with her uncle Levi Law standing there on the top left with the other crew. So I just want to say thank you for that so much. It means a lot, and it'll go to the archive over at the library so that it's preserved as it should be. But on the backside it says Vero Beach Coast Guard Uncle Lev Law and Captain Walter Kitchen Coast Guard group. So it shows you a window of Vero Beach, or a Vero, because we weren't even Vero Beach till 1919. Pretty amazing.
Except for Captain Kitchens, they're all wearing the campaign hats that were traditional at the time, and lever action rifles, Winchesters, which are in leggings.
Right.
Wow. Right. What a picture.
It's pretty amazing. Okay. Mark.
Melvin O. Dills, USA, died in service July 13, 1918. Melvin O. Dills, born November 6, 1898, came from a Georgia family that settled in Vero Beach. He and his older brother, Clyde, were World War I veterans. A sister later resided in Roseland, and another sister later resided in Mico. Melvin suffered a fate similar to Lonnie Hamilton. He died in July, and Hamilton died in September. Both were admitted to the Camp Jackson Base Hospital and succumbed shortly thereafter from pneumonia. Melvin was still a single young man, only 19. He was a private assigned to Battery B, 12th Field Artillery. He died July 13, 1918. He is buried with his parents, Henry Grant Dills and Mary Ada Jones Dills, in the Dogwood Valley Cemetery, Catoosa County, Georgia. His brother Clyde and his wife are buried in the Cresslawn Cemetery. Melvin is honored on the World War I Memorial in Fort Pierce. His cenotaph is found in column B, row 7. He was highlighted on February 23rd.
You don't realize today with modern medicine what it was like when we had pandemics coming across, and they had Navy ships with crews that were at 60% strength, 70% strength because of this pandemic going on. It had a huge impact. Okay, our next meeting is on April 6th. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, well, we're adjourned. Thank you.